Now, the Resource Center for Human Rights and Civic Education has accused the All Progressive Congress of using the proposed creation of 31 new states as a political strategy to deceive Nigerians ahead of the 2027 general elections. It described the move as a grand deception and distraction orchestrated by the ruling party to divert attention from the country's worsening economic and security crisis. Briefing journalists in Abuja, the CHRICED's executive director, Ibrahim Zikirullahi, claimed that the APC was using state creation as a bait to win support ahead of 2027, knowing fully well that the proposal is unrealistic.
It is particularly alarming that federal lawmakers have chosen to focus their efforts on increasing the number of states rather than addressing the urgent economic and social issues facing the nation. This decision raises questions about the priorities of those in power and whether they are truly in touch with the realities of the lives of ordinary Nigerians. The current economic climate has left many citizens struggling to make ends meet, and the government's focus on state creations seems to divert attention from the pressing need for effective governance and policy reforms.
So to discuss this, we are joined by public affairs analyst Moses Idika. Mr. Moses Idika, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, what are the potential political implications of creating new states, including the impact on the balance of power and representation in the National Assembly?
Okay, let me take it from your last point. Certain zones in Nigeria have been agitating, especially the Southeast, have been agitating for a creation of one more state to put them at par with some other regions, because it is only the Southeast that has 5 states, the minimum number of states across the 6 geopolitical zones. That said, I tend to agree with the civil society organization, because recently we heard that several members of the House of Representatives pushed up bills amounting to 31 requests for creation of new states across some states. A state like Benue has 3 proposals, while in the Southeast you have 2 proposals. You have from the Northwest and practically all the 6 geopolitical zones. Yes, it looks like a distraction on the surface, but I rather think in my own thinking that it's more like trying to sabotage the agitation in the Southeast. That is, agitation for a creation of additional one single state to put them at par with some other geopolitical zones. So when a particular region is agitating for one state, you now see some states in some other regions as agitating for 3 additional states. So that confuses everybody and, kind of downplays the critical agitation coming from the Southeast. However, when you look at it from the other hand, you find out that several minority groups in all the regions, they have their issues. Everybody is claiming they are being marginalized. For example, we know the case of Benue State. The people from southern part of Benue State have said they are being marginalized because in Nigeria, winner takes it all. You find out that before now, we've been hearing that the President Tinubu's government is favoring people of the Southwest. When Buhari was there, it was as if it was for the North. And so that is the root cause of all these agitations. Assuming that Nigeria is a country governed by its own laws, then everybody, the government will be blind to regions and number of states. If you are hungry, you can be hungry in Borno State, you can be hungry in Ebonyi State, you can be hungry in Lagos State. But if you also live well, you can live well in any part of Nigeria.
Sorry, Moses.
So the real
Moses.
Yeah?
If you do want to explain exactly, because it's a bit confusing here, how would the creation of new states affect the economic development and resource allocation in Nigeria generally?
Well, for me, I don't think that creating new states will affect the resource distribution. What affects Nigeria's resource distribution is the fact that our resources are not deployed to service the people, to service the communities, to service the states. Nigeria resources are diverted. You hear that Nigerians have the high number of houses in Dubai. People are buying houses in London, in New York, in Canada, and that is what is affecting the resources of Nigeria, not even the number of states. In my thinking, there is no state in Nigeria that cannot take care of itself. And what are we talking about taking care of ourselves? Provision of basic needs, provision of health facilities, education, pay workers, create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. So the government has failed in all these areas, and the resources are diverted to private pockets. If you live in Abuja, Abuja has the highest number of mansions in Nigeria today, and most of those mansions are empty because nobody lives there. The average Nigerian cannot afford to even live there on rent. So that is what affects the resources, not even the number of local governments or states.
But for most of Nigerian states, you'd realize that the local government areas might get all of these allocations and might utilize it in some of these urban areas or close to suburban areas. All the rest LGAs may not get these funds distributed to them. Could that be the reason why they're agitating for more states? If they can carve out these LGAs, perhaps make them states on their own, they could get these allocations that would benefit the people that live in these smaller regions.
It's a misplaced agitation on the part of some of those lawmakers. You find out that these lawmakers, you have never seen any of them taking their governors to task about their allocations, about their internally generated revenues. Nobody calls out their local government chairman that we got so amount of money this month. How was the money deployed? So until we begin to demand accountability from public office holders, that is when we can have our resources deployed to service the people. When people link lack of development to number of states, and you find out it's unsubstantiated. When you go back to a lot of the rural areas, the roads you see, the bridges you see, were built in the 70s when we had less than 10 states, or even in the 60s. So how come now that we have 36 states, there are no new roads? Even the one built in the 60s and 70s have all dilapidated and unmotorable. So it is not the number of states, it's not the number of local government, it is application of resources, misapplication of resources now that is at the root of the crisis we face as a nation today.
Moses Idika, I want to say thank you very much for joining us this hour. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.